Feral hogs are destroying America. That's the simple version. The real version is worse. And the fix was always there. We just kept killing it. Let me explain exactly what's happening, what went wrong, and what researchers now understand that changes everything about how we look at this problem. Start with the numbers. There are roughly 6.9 million feral hogs in the United States right now. That's confirmed. The USDA published that estimate. Texas alone holds about 2.6 million of them. They're spread across 253 of Texas's 254 counties. The one county they haven't reached is El Paso. Every other county, covered. And the damage those animals cause every single year across the whole country comes to around $3 billion, not a guess. A calculated estimate from research institutions, including Texas A&M and the National Wildlife Research Center. $3 billion every year. To me, that number needs context to land properly. It's not just broken fences and ruined crops. It includes a woman in Harris County, Texas, who was attacked and killed by feral hogs outside her own front door in 2019. It includes a military airfield in central Texas, where hogs rushed the runway at dawn and forced pilots to abort takeoffs. It includes destroyed fiber optic infrastructure worth millions in Irving, Texas. It includes watershed collapse, where hundreds of thousands of hogs wallow in rivers and creek beds, collapse the banks, and turn clean water into muddy runoff. A single farmer in Williamson County lost 24 acres of corn in one night. $40,000 gone before sunrise. This is not a background problem. It is active, ongoing, and accelerating. Now I want to explain how these animals got here, because understanding the origin matters for understanding why the problem is so hard to fix. Spanish explorers working the Gulf Coast in the 1500s released domestic pigs into the wild on purpose. The idea was simple: leave the animals, return when you need food, collect them. What they didn't account for is that pigs are extremely adaptable and extremely smart. Those animals walked into the forest and didn't stop. They spread across the continent over generations. No natural predators keeping them in check. No ceiling on their numbers. By the time anyone noticed the scale of what had happened, it was already beyond easy containment. Then came the second wave. In the early 1900s, wealthy European hunters brought Eurasian wild boar into the United States specifically for sport hunting. These weren't soft domestic animals. These were animals shaped by centuries of rough terrain and real predators. Lean, fast, aggressive, and physically tough in ways domestic pigs never needed to be. When those boar escaped their enclosures, and they always found a way out, they encountered the feral domestic pigs already spread across the South. What came from that crossbreeding was worse than either parent species. A hybrid, more adaptable, more destructive, smarter, and built with physical toughness that made existing removal methods feel inadequate from the moment they were used. The biology of their reproduction is what makes this a true crisis. A single female can drop 2 litters a year, up to 12 piglets each time. Left without real pressure, A feral hog population can double in under 5 months. There is no natural stopping point in that math. No level they reach and hold. The number just keeps going up. Now here's what I find most important to understand about why every human-led solution has failed. For decades, the official approach followed one path. Trap them, shoot them, push them off your land. None of it worked in any lasting way. Helicopter operations changed the scale temporarily. A flight team can cover 400,000 acres in days and remove more hogs in one afternoon than a ground crew manages in a full month. But the math never shifted. Hogs breed faster than any trigger can be pulled. For every herd cleared from one ranch, 2 more moved in from surrounding brush. The land filled back up within a season. And here is the detail that almost never gets talked about publicly. Aggressive trapping and hunting pressure doesn't just reduce hog populations in one area. It scatters them. Animals that survive a removal operation spread outward. They move into counties that were previously clear. They establish entirely new footholds in new territory. Every helicopter flight that pushed a group off one property was essentially moving the problem somewhere else. The harder the pressure, the wider the spread. The USDA's Wildlife Services Division spent over $100 million across a decade on feral hog control nationwide. And across Texas, the population kept climbing. What I understand now, and what researchers came to understand around 2014, is that every single one of these programs was aimed at the wrong target. Every trap, every helicopter, every bullet was aimed at adult hogs, full-grown animals. That's where all the attention went. But adult hogs are incredibly hard to kill efficiently. They run at 30 miles per hour. They clear 40-inch fences without hesitating. Their tusks exceed 6 inches. Their skin is over an inch thick, reinforced by a layer of cartilaginous plating that turns light ammunition into basically an inconvenience. You have to know exactly where to hit them, and you have to be right on the first shot. Wildlife researchers have noted that if you miss the vital zone, that animal registers your location, your scent, and your method, it will not return to that spot for 12 months. These are not simple prey animals. They learn. They adapt. They pass that knowledge on. So every program targeting adults was fighting the hardest possible version of this fight, and the animals were winning. What researchers found in the Texas Hill Country starting around 2014 completely changed the picture. They started finding feral hog nests, the shallow brush beds where mother hogs shelter their newborn piglets, completely emptied, not triggered by hunters, not sprung by traps, physically dug out and cleared. No blood, no drag marks, just disturbed soil and silence where a litter of piglets had been days before. The tracks left at these sites were small, compact, evenly spaced, not bear, not mountain lion, not any large predator, coyote tracks. Now here's why that was so confusing to researchers. A coyote weighs around 30 pounds. A full-grown mother hog weighs around 200 pounds. That's a 6-to-1 weight disadvantage, and the hog has tusks, armor plating, and explosive speed. On paper, a coyote has no business threatening a feral hog nest. So nobody had been looking for this. Nobody thought it was possible. But trail camera footage from Blanco County, Texas, changed that assumption permanently. The infrared footage showed coyotes moving through the brush at 2 in the morning. Not scattered movement, not scavenging, coordinated movement, organized approach. The kind of teamwork that you don't expect from an animal most people think of as a trash scavenger. The way it worked, based on what the footage showed, was this. The lead coyote would drop low, ears barely above the grass, approaching the nest from downwind so the mother hog couldn't pick up the scent. Behind it, 2 more coyotes fanned into positions on either side. When the mother moved away from the nest, even briefly to forage, they acted. One held the perimeter, one tested the piglets. Then, in a fast, coordinated rush, they hit. One precise bite to the back of the neck. The piglet went limp. It was inside the tree line before the mother finished turning around. The whole sequence took less than 5 seconds. This is what I think is the most important piece of this entire issue. The coyotes weren't going after adults. They were going after piglets. They had identified an attack point that no government program, no helicopter fleet, no bounty system had ever targeted. They were attacking the next generation, the breeding cycle itself. Lab work confirmed it. Researchers at Fort Hood captured 18 coyotes and examined their stomach contents. Nearly a third of those animals had fresh, undigested tissue from feral hog piglets inside them. Not old material, not scavenged leftovers. Actively hunted piglets. In Georgia, Wildlife Services found piglet DNA in over 30% of coyote droppings collected across the state. This wasn't a lucky occasional result. It was systematic predation happening across multiple states at the same time. The behavioral tactics the coyotes were using went even deeper than the footage first suggested. Most coyotes hunt at night, but specific coyote populations in high-density hog territory had shifted their timing to early dawn. That's the exact window when mother hogs are physically most tired after a full night of foraging. Slowest reaction time, lowest guard. The coyotes found that fatigue window and learned to exploit it. That's not instinct. That's learned behavior passed from one generation to the next. Ecologists believe the pressure that drove this adaptation was created by humans. Systematic removal of coyotes' normal prey, rabbits, rodents, smaller animals, pushed entire coyote populations to adapt. And right next to them, in numbers almost beyond counting, were feral hog piglets, unguarded, overlooked by every apex predator in the ecosystem. Practically invisible to every hog control program running in the country. The data started showing the impact once researchers knew what to look for. In parts of Oklahoma and Georgia, feral hog populations declined by 20% in areas of sustained coyote activity. No traps, no helicopters, no humans firing a single shot. In East Texas, more than 30% of piglets vanish every breeding season, and nearly every one of those losses maps directly onto zones of high coyote density. When researchers overlaid the two data sets, coyote range and piglet mortality. The alignment wasn't approximate. It was exact. A healthy, undisturbed coyote population was accomplishing what $3 billion in annual human effort could not. Now here is the part that, to me, is the most frustrating piece of this entire situation. While this natural correction was quietly building force in the brush, government programs were funding its destruction. From 2017 to 2020, multiple states offered bounties of up to $75 for every coyote brought in dead. Hunters collected those payments by the thousands. In one Texas county, where coyotes were reduced by over 60% through targeted removal programs, the feral hog population tripled within 3 years. We were eliminating the cure, literally paying people to remove the one biological force actually capable of hitting hog populations at the generational level. The people running those bounty programs weren't acting with bad intentions. They had no way of knowing what they were doing. They were working from a model that assumed the only pressure that mattered was adult mortality. They had never seen the footage. They had never laid the piglet mortality maps over the coyote density maps and watched the lines converge. What's changing now is the approach. Smart traps fitted with infrared cameras, solar panels, and wireless connectivity have shifted the ground operation. Ranchers can now monitor their property in real time and close a trap gate remotely only when every animal in a group is inside. That matters because feral hogs are intelligent enough that if you trap half a group and release the other half, the survivors will never approach a similar structure again. They teach their offspring to avoid it. You get exactly one chance with any given group. The new approach plays a longer game. Traps are left completely open for 2 full weeks before the trigger is armed. Hogs enter, eat, relax, return, and bring others. Suspicion dissolves. Then, when 30 or 40 animals are inside at once, the gate closes. No survivors left to carry the memory of what happened. Texas is also field testing specialized toxins delivered through feeders engineered to require the specific physical strength of a hog to access. Other animals can't trigger them. Non-target species stay unaffected, and for the first time, formal programs are being built around protecting coyote populations in high-density hog regions rather than eliminating them. In Atascosa County, a group of ranchers combining smart traps with coyote-friendly land management watched crop losses fall from 600 acres of destroyed corn annually to nearly zero. The Texas model is now being studied by wildlife agencies in Australia and New Zealand, where invasive feral pig populations are generating a parallel crisis. But what every serious researcher in this field now understands is this: no trap replaces what coyotes do. No helicopter matches their efficiency. No toxin operates 7 nights a week in every weather condition, targeting the exact biological point that determines the future of a hog population. That point is not the adults. It was never the adults. It's the next generation. The piglets. The breeding cycle itself. The current thinking from wildlife biologists working this problem is that coyotes are not a supplement to the strategy. They are the strategy. Everything else is support. So for me, The main thing I take from all of this is simple. We spent decades and hundreds of millions of dollars targeting the wrong part of the problem. And while we were doing that, we were also actively destroying the one thing nature had already built to fix it. The coyote wasn't the pest. It was the solution. The only real question now is whether we'll stop getting in its way.